Howdy, partners! Some folks have been teasing and pushing my partner Bob the Tomato around lately. The other day, somebody filled his mailbox with whipped cream. I thought he should sprinkle in some nuts, add a little hot fudge, a cherry, and enjoy the treat. Bob disagreed, and he really got his feelings hurt too, because it's hard when things always seem to be going wrong. So, I found a rootin' tootin' Western Bible story that had all the fixins to help Bob solve his problem. The Ballad of Little Joe. Way out west at the Okie Dokie Corral lived a guy named Little Joe. He lived with his 11 cowboy brothers, all of whom had French accents. Little Joe was his father's favorite son. So, for his birthday, his dad gave him a beautiful western vest of many colors. Now, his brothers didn't like that one doggone bit. No siree. That's when Little Joe headed into all sorts of trouble. His brothers were so jealous, they decided to toss him right into an old mine shaft. "Hey, Jude!" Little Joe called out to his big brother for help, but Jude didn't answer. Instead, he convinced the rest of his brothers to hand Little Joe over to a band of desperados. The desperados sold Little Joe to the owner of the Rootin' Tootin' Pizza Place in Dodgeball City, but Little Joe made the best of the situation. He worked so hard that he was named Employee of the Month. Unfortunately, that made Miss Kitty, the waitress at the Rootin' Tootin' Pizza Place, burning mad. Miss Kitty decided to get even with Little Joe. She filled his cow hat with lots of money and told everybody Little Joe had stolen it. The sheriff rounded up Little Joe and tossed him in jail. Once again, he found himself in a whole lick of trouble. "Little Joe, why is all this stuff happening to you?" asked Sheriff Bob. "Shucks, I don't really know, but God is good," Little Joe answered. "I reckon I just have to keep on doing what's right." One night, the mayor of Dodgeball City had a dream. He was so upset by it, he simply had to know what it meant. Little Joe asked God to help him explain the mayor's dream. Little Joe told the mayor he would have 7 years of more food than they knew what to do with it. Little Joe told the mayor he would have 7 years of more food than they knew what to do with, and 7 years of terrible famine. The mayor was so impressed, he made Little Joe the second most powerful man in Dodgeball City, and Little Joe used his new position to get the town ready for the 7 bad years. During those bad years, Little Joe's family came to Dodgeball City. They were hungry, and they needed some food. At first, Little Joe was mad at them, but he knew God had used all the bad things that had happened to him for good, so he forgave his brothers, and they had the best family reunion the West had ever seen. So kids, have you ever had to deal with some double trouble in your life? Or maybe you've just been doggone sad about something? By golly, when Bob heard about how Little Joe trusted God to make good out of the bad things that happened to him, he felt a lot better. It sure is nice to know that God's got a plan, and he can turn bad things into something good. That's because God made you special, and he loves you very much. In all things, God works for the good of those who love him. Romans 8:28.